Hey guys, welcome back. Great to have you here today. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to be really stable, really consistent with your spine angle. And that's going to lead to a lot of success being consistent in your ground contact, being able to hit a lot straighter. If that spine angle stays pretty stable throughout the swing, then I can just swing back, swing through. It's going to be very easy to make contact. If I start to move my spine angle around, so if you can imagine this is my spine, move it around like this, or come out of my posture early, start to have that working the wrong way, now it gets really difficult to consistently hit that ball solid. So this is more of an informational video. Most of the videos I do, I talk for a little bit, I give you a drill, take it out to the driving range. This is going to be a little bit more involved, tons of detail in this, and we're going to mostly talk about, what's going on, not necessarily an actual drill to go and take. So if this video isn't for you, if you're not really wanting to know the fine details, it may not be the perfect video for you, but for those guys that really want to know the ins and outs of it, I'm going to get into a ton of detail on this one. So let's first start out with your spine works in several different ways in the swing. We're going to have rotation of the spine, so if you can imagine, if my pelvis doesn't move at all, that stays perfectly still, and now my spine rotates and my whole rib cage rotates. That's going to happen in the backswing. In my downswing, it's actually going to lag behind, and then in my follow through, it's going to rotate the other direction. I also have what's called flexion, meaning that my spine is coming forward, either bending this way or my pelvis is actually tilting forward. That's going to happen in the golf swing. I actually do raise up out of that to where I'm standing straight up and down, essentially straight up and down, into the straight line release and into the follow through. That's the second piece. We'll get to a lot more detail on that. And then we also have what we call lateral bend. So this would be lateral bend to the right. This would be lateral bend to the left. So my spine is actually curving to the left, curving to the right. That happens a lot in the swing. In the back swing, as you rotate back, my spine curves left. As I come on through, my spine curves right. And these things are happening kind of very quickly. Angles are changing. I will simplify it for you at the end, give you a great drill to keep that really, really simple. So if I can keep my spine stable in the swing, but also have it fluid so that I can really load up, make a good backswing, make a good follow through, just makes things a whole lot easier. So first let's talk about at address, you're going to have a slight tilt away from the target with your spine angle. Not going to be a ton, just a few degrees is plenty. This is what we call the stable fluid spine in our top speed golf system. As you go to the top of the swing, we're going to relatively have that same angle. As we come into contact, that angle is going to get a little bit farther back away, a little bit more tilt, and then as I come all the way on through into the follow through, now that angle is going to be relatively the same, so it's not changing a lot. Let's start out with flexion and extension. So flexion again is when my spine is bending forward this way. Extension would be when my spine is bending back the other way. As I start at address, we can obviously see I'm in flexion, so my spine is tilted forward. I'm looking at this direction. What gets a little confusing is as I go to the top of the swing, my spine actually extends a little bit. So as I go to the backswing, my hips kind of come to the right, my spine extends a little bit. Even though I'm slightly tilted away from the target, you'll see this angle between my pelvis and my spine start to decrease slightly. So if we're looking from this direction or from the face on camera, as I go to the right, we'll see that here at the top of my swing, now I've made a good full turn. I'm tilted away, but my angle between my pelvis and my upper body has extended slightly. So if I was to go ahead and turn my feet the same way my pelvis is going, you'll see how I'm not that much in that much flexion, that much forward bend. Now as I start down, I'm actually going to increase that a little bit. People call it, tiger squat or the Sneed squat. You'll hear people talk about flexing your legs, coming into the ground a little bit. Everybody does that a slight amount, so your spine starts to go back into flexion slightly as you start the swing. Some people do a lot. I would say Tiger Woods is some of the guys that really got doing that a lot. I would think that they're overdoing that. That's adding a little bit too much up and down in there. But there is going to be a small amount of that for pretty much every player out there. As we're coming through the ball and we're going into what I call the straight line release, now we can see that angle between my pelvis and my spine is completely gone. So what has happened there is I've essentially done this at address. This is the top of my swing as I start down, and then as I come through to the release, I'm doing this. So it's that upward motion where my hips are going forward, my spine is going into what would be toward extension. It's not really getting extended where it's actually bending backwards, but it's going toward extension that way. And what that allows you to do is now as my hip rotates upward, that hip is moving back and up out of the way. That moves my shoulder back and up out of the way. And what ends up happening there is my hand moves back and up. My grip actually turns up to get that club to really whip on through there. So as I create this big angle, now as I extend, you can see I've lost this angle between my pelvis and my spine. Now as I extend, now I can release that club. That's going to allow me to really get that whipping action as I'm coming through contact. I like to feel this as these bottom 3 fingers on this hand. I got a good angle of lag, and now I'm going to turn those up to allow that to happen. It's also, if you struggle kind of folding your arms up, let's say that you look something like this when you're hitting, or if I go ahead and swing a shot, we've all seen, there's players at every single club in the world that look like this in their follow through, and their arms are folding up and they're not really coming on through the ball. That's because we haven't gotten enough extension. If you want to have those arms really fly out away from your body, if you want to have that long, free-flowing follow through, I have to go into some extension coming through contact to let that happen. So now we can see as that extends, allows my arms to go out. So those are as far as flexion and extension, that's what's happening in the swing. As I come all the way on around, then I'm going to be following through. I'm going to be actually in extension at that point. My chest is nice and high, my head is high, and my spine is out. Now, a lot of times when I hear people, going through this, I see people talking about it, they want to get this in their own swing. They say, well, I'm a little bit up in age. My back doesn't really go this way or that way. Well, I'd say just go to what's comfortable for you. If it's tough to get into a little bit more extension like you're seeing the pros get into, just get into where your back is flat. So I can be here, my back is perfectly flat, I'm still facing the target with my chest, my hands are still nice and high, I've still completely finished my follow through. Now let's talk a little bit about the rotation aspect. This one actually can be a little bit confusing too. So between my pelvis and my torso, your thorax, you're getting some rotation left and right there. Most of that's happening from this part of your body. So your thoracic spine goes from right around your shoulders to the midsection here. That's where most of the rotation is going to happen. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to get a lot of separation between my hips, my pelvis, and my shoulders. And a lot of that is happening in this midsection here, your spine rotating to the right. It's not going to be fully stretched until the start of the downswing. So you can imagine as I'm going back, we call this the power turn, really making sure that those shoulders turn in the backswing. I'm not going to get fully stretched until I start my downswing, and then my spine is going to be kind of fully rotated as much as I can get it. That is extremely important. I can't stress how important that is. A lot of that comes from your pelvis rotating. So as I start to let my pelvis go, that's going to allow my shoulders and my spine to rotate more to get fully loaded up. A lot of times I'll see players cut off the rotation of their pelvis. They try to just do it from their spine, just do it from the upper body. It looks something like this. I get this really short swing, and now I have a very difficult time creating power. If I go ahead and let that rotate, I'm creating a lot more space and a lot more room. Now as I start the downswing, my spine is going to really be lagging behind for most of the downswing. So even as I'm here, my hips are leading the way, my spine is still staying back. We're not going to really catch up until what we call the straight line release. So now as I'm releasing through there, you'll look at my hips and my shoulders are essentially facing in the same direction. That means that I've taken this spine rotation to the right and I've caught up with that. And that catching up is what allows you to get the speed and allows you to release on out in front. So this is the start of the swing. Everything's pretty much square. At the top of the swing, spine's rotated to the right. As I start down, it's still lagging behind, and then it catches up as I come through impact and into the straight line release, coming through the ball. I don't want to hit at the ball. If you cast the club, typically what you'll do is you'll start firing that spine really, really early, and now all of a sudden your shoulders have already caught up with your hips and you've burned up all your speed. I gotta wait until I'm coming through the ball to get that speed to go and to let that fire. As I come all the way on through to my finish, it's gonna be all the way in the other direction. So now I've just rotated all the way around until a good full finish. A good way to think about this is your right shoulder if I can get that as high and as far down the fairway as possible, that's going to ensure that I'm rotating all the way on through. And again, it starts from the ground up, it starts from the lower body. I got to let this right heel come off the ground to make that happen. So those are the first two pieces. The third piece is the lateral, the side bend, lateral bend. So you can think this is your spine angle bending to the right and bending to the left. So at address, I have a little tiny bit of right side bend, but it wouldn't be very much. As I go to the top of the swing, what's actually happening is to stay in my posture, if I'm looking from down the line, I'm actually bent significantly to the left. So if I was to straighten up my body, I'm like this, if I turn this way, I'm like this at the top of the swing, or everyone that stays in their posture is in lateral left side bend at the top of the swing. So if I put a club across my shoulders and I get that to point down kind of where the ball would be, that may be a little too steep, but we can kind of talk of that as a general frame of reference. If I get that club to point down somewhere in the general vicinity of the ball, I've done this motion a lot. As I come through the swing, again, I'm doing the other motions I'm talking about, but I'm going the other way. My spine is actually going into right side lateral bend. And again, if I put that club on my shoulders, then as I rotate on through, that should be pointing down that direction. Now, as I come all the way on up around, I'm pretty much back to neutral. I'm straight up and down again. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the spine, and it seems to get a lot more complicated than it needs to be when we break it down in those individual pieces. Again, this is kind of an informational video. It's not necessarily a lesson to take to the range, but it's just talking about what's actually happening throughout the swing of this. So how can we take this to where we can make a really good looking swing out of it? A couple things that I want you to remember. If we just put a club across our shoulders and we picture that ball on the ground, I can do this from the comfort of my living room. I'm going to start out with my slightly flexed forward in good posture. As I turn to the right, I'm going to go ahead and let my club rotate behind that golf ball, and I have a slight bit of tilt away from the target. That's the only things that I'm going to check in the backswing. As I come on through to the follow through, let's turn this club the other way, get the grip pointing the other direction. As I come on through to what would be my straight line release, or when I'm letting that club go, now I'm going to have that club pointing down to the ball here. And when I put both of those together, I'm just rotating back, rotating through. Everything is staying very consistent throughout the swing. Now I'm just swinging around my body in a circle. I don't have to change a lot of angles to make that overall pattern happen. And then as I follow through, the last key checkpoint there is, as I come up, I want my chest to be nice and high. I want my belt buckle toward the target, and I want my right shoulder to come all the way around as much as I can. So again, got a lot of detail in the first part of this video. Simplify things. Just imagine turning back, turning through with your shoulders staying in the right posture. That'll let the rest of the spine stuff happen, and then get nice and tall and long as you come all the way on through. That's going to make things a lot easier. So we go over this in a ton more detail in the stable fluid spine. Not more detail, but we go into a ton more application that you can take to the range and start to get this down. And I think it's really the #1 fundamental to creating a lot of consistency in the golf swing. So let's go ahead and give one a whirl, see how we do with our stable fluid spine. All right guys, best of luck. Hit them well. I'll see y'all soon. All right guys, hope y'all really enjoyed that video on your stable fluid spine, on the real details of how the spine works. Now it's time to take it to the next level. It's actually time to get some real drills that we can take to the course to increase our accuracy, increase our consistency, and that's what we call the stable fluid spine. I'm going to break it down very simple for you, how you can keep that spine angle perfectly stable throughout the swing so you can get your wedges, your irons, your drivers, everything is going to be that much more consistent. So you're going to get a preview of that video here in a second. Just go ahead and click the iCard on the screen. You'll get instant access to that full video, plus 5 videos from our Top Speed golf system. So best of luck to you guys, and I'll see you in the stable fluid spine. So what is it that allows us to have consistency in the golf swing, and what is it that allows that consistency to fall apart and create some bad rounds? That's what we're going to talk about in this video today. Let's go ahead and get started. Everything that happens in the golf swing is initially dictated by what happens with the spine. So if we're looking at a skeleton, you know, my spine's in the center of my body, and everything else in my body is attached to my spine. So my shoulders are attached to my spine, my arms attached to my shoulders, and then my arms are going to be actually swinging the club. So Now when I see players that are really struggling, those guys that are hitting it out in the woods right, they're hitting in the left, then they have a few good holes, what's happening is their spine angle is changing. As they go to the top of the swing, maybe they have a reverse pivot, spine's angled back, falling back to the right, but there's a lot of inconsistency in that. And what happens is, as good athletes as we all are, the number one fundamental in golf, correct, keep it nice and stable, but fluid, we're gonna be able to hit those good clean shots time and time again, and that's what I'm gonna show you in this series of videos. Henrik Stenson, top 5 in both driving distance and accuracy. Rory McIlroy here, playing some of the best golf that anybody's ever played, and you can see just how stable.